It's happening. Today, we're finally back in the garden. Despite my intense excitement to be outside, it's still pretty early in the year, so there's not too many things to be done in the garden quite yet. Because even though I have remembered my will to live, it's still a little early for all the critters that are snoozing and hibernating in our yard, overwintering until it's warm enough for them to emerge. What that means is we want to leave the leaves, hollow stems, brush piles, etc. All these things that could be acting as a cozy little habitat for our bug friends, our bumblebees and other native bees, fireflies, etc. So I'm staying away from cutting the stems of most things, particularly hollow stemmed things that could be housing our native bees, but there are a few exceptions of things that I will clean up even though we are not fully in the warm season yet. Starting with the asparagus bed. First up is this very sad asparagus bed. We are cutting back all of these old ferns from last year. This is something I definitely should have done a very long time ago. I should have done this right when the ferns died back in the winter, but I did not do that. So here we are. The reason I'm doing this is because we had asparagus beetles last year. And when it comes to pests with plants, particularly a perennial plant that dies back in the winter, it's a good idea to cut back all of that dead foliage and burn it or dispose of it so that hopefully you mitigate as much carryover of that pest from year to year. Like I said, I should have done this a long time ago, so I don't actually know how much this is going to help, but I may as well try it. And last year I didn't cut them back at all. So at least we're making a little bit of progress. So now that these asparagus ferns are gone, I'm going to do a little bit of weeding because we've got a lot of issues with invasive weeds in here, like creeping Charlie. And for our asparagus, which are an early spring crop, it's easily going to choke out the new spears that should be poking through here soon. So I really want to get on top of this. We want to give those new spears light and space to grow without having to compete with the dense ground cover of these weeds. Now that the weeds are gone, I'm covering this bed back up with dried leaves because soil doesn't like being naked and we want to keep that soil healthy. It's also warm this weekend, but we have temperatures down to 19 degrees next week, so I want to give the asparagus a little protection in case some of these spears come up in this warm weather and then have to make it through that cold week. Come here. Say hello to YouTube. Next, I've got a similar job for these very sad looking peonies. Same thing as the asparagus, but the problem is disease versus insect issues. Peonies are just really prone to fungal disease issues. These always get like a powdery mildew situation every fall. It's really common. It's not a huge deal, but we do want to stay on top of it and try to keep it from getting so bad that it harms the plant. So we are snipping back last year's foliage and burning it to do our best to prevent disease. I also want to remove last year's foliage to give this year's new growth enough light and air to grow and thrive. I didn't spend too much time on these beds. We didn't plant these peonies and we don't love the location of them. They're kind of randomly in the lawn, so I think we may end up relocating them this season. These beds are still kind of a mess, but I just didn't want to waste time on something that might not be there next year. Also, I've got a thriving spider habitat in there. There must have been a nest or something because there were at least 100 spiders in each of these beds. So, we'll just let those guys have their cozy little home for now. All right, it's another beautiful day. We're back in the yard. Welcome. to my crabapple shrub. So this awkward little forest is what remains of what used to be a huge crabapple tree that we had removed because it was very sad and dying. It was very diseased and seasonally confused. So we had to take it down. We have all these shoots that are coming up and they're very awkward in the middle of our yard, but they're kind of useful. So I made some wreath bases out of them and they actually turned out really good. So today I want to try to do another project with them. I want to try to make a trellis / tomato cage using these branches. I have no idea if it's going to work, but we're going to try it. First, I'm grabbing some of these branches that I set aside last year to use as the vertical stakes for this tomato cage. I thought having thicker, more sturdy, dried branches for this would be better than flexible, fresh growth. I'd seen some people online make trellises like this using a wooden jig as a base, but I didn't have that obviously, so I started by just using a pot full of soil to try and keep these in place. It's not perfect, but it's fine. So now, let's cut some apple branches. So now I've got all these apple branches that are still young and flexible, which is what we want. I don't really have any idea what I'm doing, but presumably I'm just gonna weave these every other. I soon realized that this pot of soil wasn't really enough to keep the sticks in place when I tried to weave apple branches between them. That's better. That's a lot better. Okay. Plan B. I wish I'd thought of that before I carried this heavy bucket of soil over here. So I learned from my mistakes and now I am just using the ground to keep these sticks in place. And in order to place them evenly in a circle, I'm just using this upturned planter as a guide. I also tested placing one stick and then marked the depth of where I placed that on all of them so that they're all evenly placed at an equal depth in the ground. So now I have a pretty good circle and I can start weaving my apple branches. I just started each branch on the inside of a stake and then alternated outside, inside, each following stake. Once I finished one branch, I went back to the next stake in line from where I started and started the next branch on the inside of that stake, and so on. So this is what the first round of weaving looks like. I actually think it looks pretty good. I'm pretty excited. It's not perfect, but it's like mostly round. All right, I left because I had to go to a class at the gym, but we're back now. A little bit sweatier, but with way more happy brain chemicals. So I'll take it. The problem is I have no idea where I left off. So we're just gonna pick a spot to start because I can't remember. I think I'm gonna do one more round. I wanna feel like this is pretty solid at the base. And then I wanna decide if I just wanna do flat rings or if I wanna try to do like a swirl situation. And I'm not sure yet. So we're just gonna wing it and see. But first I wanna get this base a little bit stronger. It's so sunny and warm out today. It's crazy. It's 81 degrees right now. It's 81 degrees right now and there's snow in tomorrow's forecast. Like, excuse me? It's just hard to know how sturdy it's gonna be once this dries. Like it's gonna be more solid once it dries, but because I can't take it out of the ground to test It's hard to know. All right, so that's a pretty good bundle. I'm gonna work with that. I got a lot of longer ones this time too, so. So I start by tucking the crabapple stem on the inside, and then I just alternate. And then when that one's done, this is the section I started on last time, so I go one over and do the same thing. So now I have to decide if I want to do another horizontal rung or if I go this way. Ooh, I like that. Oh wait, no, I was going this way, so I should do it this way. I really like that. I really needed taller sticks for this, is what I'm realizing. Okay, yeah, it's like raining now, so I gotta go inside. This tomato cage turned out a little wonky, but I'm overall so happy with it, especially for my first attempt doing something like this. I made this completely for free with things that I found in my yard, and it's completely biodegradable. Gardening doesn't have to mean buying a bunch of expensive stuff. It can mean just foraging and using what we have to grow what we can. Thanks for spending this week in my garden with me. I hope it gave you some joy and encourages you to spend a little more time outside this spring. Until next time.